Hey everyone, it's Amber Lily, and I make videos chronicling me trying to live the life that my soul desires and encouraging you all to do the same. Sorry about the lighting, I started recording this kind of late and it's dark outside, so also the angle is so off. That's my vision board, by the way, for 2019. So today I'm going to be talking about cutting out toxic people. So happy new year. It's 2019 and everyone's talking about cutting out people for the new year, leaving toxic people behind in 2019. Anyway, which is great, but let's not get scissor happy. That sounds really weird, but just like bear with me. So don't misinterpret a soul in pain and going through it as a toxic person. So a few characteristics of a toxic person: they're critical, they're often jealous, they're mean, they're just straight up bullies, honestly. They have really high unrealistic expectations for you, and kind of a double standard so that they don't uphold them themselves and you have to measure up to that. They push you away from your best. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say you're trying to quit smoking right now and you have someone in your life who's like, no, come on, just like have one cigarette, it's fine, like blah blah blah. Or let's say you're trying to stay away from alcohol or anything like that, and they're just trying to pull you back in to old destructive habits. Very toxic person. Don't have them in your life. People who are really selfish, like really have no care about you at all, and just straight up abusive. So these are some characteristics, and there's more of a toxic person that you should not have in your life. So yes, leave them behind in 2018 and move forward. However, there are some characteristics I've seen people talk about as toxic that I honestly just see that as a person who's in pain and a soul that's hurting and really just needs a friend and someone to talk to them. So a hurting person is someone who complains all the time. This is actually very typical of people who in their childhood they weren't heard a lot growing up. Their opinion didn't matter, their pain didn't matter, and it's kind of like the squeaky wheel gets the oil, you know? Like my cat meows incessantly and loudly at 4 a.m. because he wants food, but not any other time during the day. So people that complain are people who have not been heard. And I know it's hard for you because I've been there, where you have a friend who's just constantly complaining, always just talking negatively about their lives, and you're just like, oh my God, like, and you just don't want to pay them any attention. That's gonna make it worse. The more you give into it, and well, not give in, but the more you talk to them and you're like, hey, what is going on, and sitting down with them and really hearing them, it actually lessens their complaining. It takes a little bit of time, but it actually works in the long run. Negative people. This is just their mindset and their attitude about life because of things that have already happened, okay? So they have put this filter on their perception. Their perception of the world is a lot more negative than yours is because stuff has happened. Look, you don't know their circumstances. Please do not cut out someone for being toxic because they're negative, because like their dog just died, okay? Like, give people a break. People are negative sometimes. If they are always negative about everything and it's just like you've talked to them and there's just no change, then okay. But like, people are a lot of the time are negative because things happen in their lives that are negative. Help them, okay? Flaky people. People who kind of waste your time. This is very typical of my anxiety and depression. I will make plans a lot of the time, and when it comes to that day, I can't get out of bed or I'm too anxious to leave the house, so I cancel. This happens, okay? And it's not that I'm trying to waste their time. Trust me, that's not what I want at all. It's just my depression and anxiety make it really hard for me to leave the house. I'm trying to do what I can to be able to supplement and make my anxiety and depression better, and I'm working on that, but in the meantime, sometimes I just need a lot of grace from my friends. Self-centered. And this is different than being selfish, in my opinion. Selfish people literally do not care about you, and it's all about them. Self-centered people, or it's like they're in the middle of it, and they're the ones that they're thinking about, they're the ones they're talking about, they dominate a conversation about themselves, but they actually do care a lot about other people. they'll drop everything just to help you, but if they come to a party, they're the ones that only talk about themselves and their own experiences. A lot of the time, again, this goes back into a childhood of feeling unseen and unheard. Maybe they were in a big family, or maybe they were just shy, or they had parents that didn't let them talk about things. And so this is someone who just needs to be heard and seen and acknowledged. And again, it'll get ugly before it gets better, but it does get better. Blamers. I was one, okay? So people that don't ever take responsibility for what's going on in their lives and they just blame everybody else, it's possible for them to change. I did, and it honestly just took my own recognition. I just blame everyone else but myself for my own issues, and I totally put myself here. So I want to introduce a technique to you that will be familiar if you've ever taken woodshop or theater tech or anything like that. Measure twice, cut once. If you are put in this person's life and you recognize these things about them because you're there to help teach them. Now, I don't want you to be their personal life coach or their therapist, because that's not it either, especially if you're empathic. That takes on a little too much. However, you're in their life to try and help them get better. So have a conversation with them, a loving conversation where it's safe and they can feel like they can express like, well, hey, I don't feel heard, or I just feel like everything going on in my life makes it hard for me to see the good things in life. And have that space so that they know that, hey, I'm a friend and I'm just trying to help you out because I want you to have a happy, joyful life. So if it continues, just remind them. It takes a lot for us to change behavior, especially if it's something we've been doing for our whole lives. If I have learned something for 22 years, it's going to take longer than like a month to unlearn that behavior that I've been doing my whole life. Then, if it continues, you've measured twice, cut once, and cut them off. And it does not have to be this dramatic, awful experience of screaming and yelling and talking bad about someone. You can cut someone off and not be friends with them and still wish them well. I've done that tons of times. Make sure you're able to have just, again, a loving, accepting conversation of like, hey, you know what? I don't think we can be friends anymore. I just don't think we're good for each other. I really wish you all the best and I want you to be really happy in your life, but there's not much that I can do for you anymore. And I think it would just be better if we just cheered each other on from afar. So again, leave toxic people back in 2018. But for the souls that are hurting and struggling, don't leave them behind. Try to help them and talk with them because you are their friend and you are someone that they can open up to. And then measure twice, cut once. Alright, that's all I have for you guys today. It's definitely a shorter video, but this was definitely on my heart and in my spirit today. Happy New Year, and I hope you all have a great another rotation around the sun.